Welcome back to Mainly Irrelevant. Yay. We're a geek podcast that talks about things that are mainly irrelevant.
That nobody talks about anymore.
Yes, exactly. What irrelevant things are we talking about today?
Indie games.
You mean into the breach games?
Wow, that's really bad. That's so bad.
But it's so good.
No, it's
You know what
not.
else is good?
What?
Into the breach is good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so into the breach.
Yeah, me too.
So let's explain the game a bit. So Into the Breach is a... How do you explain the game? It's
tactical strategy.
It's a tactical
Turn-based strategy
game.
Yeah.
But it's different in the sense that you're not trying to kill off everything every single turn.
You're trying to protect a city or buildings, basically.
So the context, the story is kind of like where it's like a mixture of Pacific Rim and Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Where you're going, basically the planet has already been kind of wiped out.
You went back in time.
You're going back in time with mechs to try and stop an alien race that is invading Earth or old Earth.
I think it's like they're popping up from underneath
from
here.
the breach.
And then,
Right?
yeah, so your power grid is what keeps it like together, like to prevent them from popping up.
Yeah.
And then, so basically your buildings contribute to that grid, so you have to protect the buildings from being destroyed by the Vex.
The Vex, which is
the
the alien race.
The alien race,
Yeah. It's interesting because I think one of the design inspirations behind the game was, I guess the designers saw a lot of the movies that were like so focused on like the mechs killing off monsters and stuff like that without a care for the collateral damage that you do. So the point of the game is to not lose the buildings, the power cores that you're talking about.
You're basically just trying to survive. You're not
trying to
trying
survive.
You're not trying to kill them all. You're trying to survive.
Basically. So each round only has 5 turns.
Yeah.
And if you don't die within the 5 turns, you have survived that round. So, yeah. That's
You basically have like this HP bar, which is your power grid, and every time your building gets attacked, you lose one power grid.
cell.
Power cell. Yeah. And once you lose everything, then you the game restarts. So it's kind of like a roguelike in that sense.
Yeah. But the turn-based aspect is you get to see, it's kind of like action programming in board game lingo, where you see what the board or what the enemies are doing ahead of time. So you see the next move and you plan to counter those next moves.
They'll always go through with their action.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you can force them to move your mechs out of the way, move the aliens out of the way, force them to hit each other.
We'll include links
Yeah.
about the game and all that stuff. I also read a really cool article on Rock Paper Shotgun about like the whole game design aspects.
Oh yeah, I think the designer is giving a talk at GDC this year as well.
They are. I think it was like a retrospective of
How they came up with that design.
Yeah.
What do you guys like about the design?
I like how it's the gameplay is very simple, but it's very complex because you control a squad of 3 mechs, and then you complete basically objectives and achievements to unlock different squads, and each squad has their own strengths and weaknesses. Each mech has their own powers. You can complete objectives and gain. What are they called? Gain reputation to basically upgrade and buy weapons
Throughout that run.
So basically every single run is going to be different. There's different strategy. You can have different builds for different mechs. Once you unlock enough squads, you can even customize and build your own squad. So basically there's like huge replay value in this game.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like you said, there's a lot of different mechs. The game is really simple. Like, instead of having like mechs with hundreds of HP and they just take a hit and get like 310 HP removed, they have like really simple HP bars, which is like either it's like from 1 to 5.
Yeah.
So every move is like you can really see the calculations going on, and you don't have. It's not some really complex like numbers in the hundreds of thousands. It's just really simple. But then even with that, the strategy is really deep and there's a lot of variations to it. Like if I compare this game to like the Super Robot Wars series, that game is really complex, but then there's actually not much variations to the mechs. Like there's like a couple of archetypes in that game, and then you can basically say that okay, this the machine is the same as that other machine, because they're both tanks and they both have like really high like damage outputs, but then they have really like short distances of movement. But this game is like in Into the Breach, every mech is very, very different, and they do very different things on the map mechanically. So the strategy is really deep.
Just kind of working out what strategy goes best and like what approach goes best with each mech set.
Yes.
Plus what weapons go best with each mech set and the pilots and all that stuff. Like
and then each mech only has basically 2 weapons. You have a main weapon, and then you have a secondary you can choose.
But it's like you can only deploy one weapon move per
turn.
Like turn.
Yes.
So even if you have 2 weapons, you can only use one of them pretty much. If they're attack weapons, obviously.
There are ways to allow you to
Sure.
do most of the time you can only do one action.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, I think I like that it's not a reward-based like game, where it's not. I mean, obviously there is the rewards where you win, like the reputation that you spend and all that stuff. But every round is about surviving, which is actually pretty stressful.
Yes.
So I've spent like 10 minutes just kind of like working out permutations for like one single turn. Just because you want to minimize the damage that you're dealing to the grid.
Basically, every turn is a puzzle. Every turn is a puzzle, and then so that basically every turn you're kind of on edge. And that
every
makes
game,
really fun.
and every map too, you can only have one reset. So if you make a shit move and you realize this afterwards, it's like I can't reset anymore, so I have to live with it.
And you can't save the game. There's no save points. So
I tried. And I was like, okay, what if I quit? Like, what if I power off?
I tried that.
It's like to counter that, I open it. It's like it's right there. I'm like, damn it!
It saves every second.
You can have a perfect run up until the very last moment. You make one wrong move. Your run is over.
Yeah. I did that. Like, I had a great run, and I still have 4 power bars left. And then on the final move of that, like final map on that final island, I had one like thing that was camped in front of like 2 buildings, and like it would take out 4, like all 4 in one go, and I was like, no matter how many things I tried, I was like, I could not avoid that. I was like devastated. Anyway, so it was stressful, and I think it was kind of because of that it's fun.
Because when you eventually do get past that point, like that's the reward system, right? You got there.
And I also think it's interesting where every island with different sort of characteristics, they like the levels inside the islands are not the same. So every time you try like a new run, you're not playing through the same islands again. You're not playing through the same maps again. You have the same characteristics, but they're spawning of
randomized.
Like the layout is all different, and so it's a different challenge.
If you play the first island last, does it make it harder?
Yes, it
does.
I
never tried that.
Basically progress.
So there should be special types of Vex that will only appear if you play the first island last.
Yes.
Okay. I never tried that actually. I've always played from left to right.
I used to do that until I could never beat the one on the right.
Like if you go from right to left, I think it's easier.
I think so too.
Right to left.
Because first island doesn't have as many elements.
True.
It's like even the terrain, like the landscape, like hazards.
But that's provided if you've already unlocked the last map. So you have to at least
you have to go at least left to right a full round.
I see.
So anyway, I think the game is on the Switch, which is what
it's on the
I'm
Switch,
playing
on the PC.
It's on the PC.
Is it on PS4?
No. I think it's only on
not sure.
Switch and PC.
We'll include that in the caption.
I'll put it in the caption.
We'll
definitely try it out.
Please try it out.
It's a bit difficult to get into because it's really hard in the beginning, especially since it's different from other games. It doesn't hold your hand. No save points.
That's actually what I really like too. It's like it just throws you in and you figure it out by yourself.
It tells you the basics, and then, like you will die like within the first 5 minutes, and you'll be like, what the heck is this game?
It takes some time to getting used to like the first 2 games maybe, but then later,
especially getting into mindset, you don't have to kill everything.
Exactly. That was a huge like shift, right? So if you're a fan of board games or like chess or just like turn-based, like if you're a fan of games, or
strategies, mechs.
or
yeah.
Yeah,
Just like rim type stuff.
I play a lot of games, and I would say this is one of the best buys I've had.
it's cheap too.
So cheap.
It's cheap.
It's $15.
Yeah.
10, 15 bucks.
Much better than a lot of AAA.
It's pretty old though. I mean, it's quite irrelevant.
Yeah, it's quite relevant.
It's quite relevant.
But a lot of people don't.
It
know
was
about
released on Switch just last year, right?
Yeah, last year. But that was the
Still
later
pretty
release.
relevant,
They were on a PC.
Yeah,
before that,
I think it was 2016 or something. But I think it was 2 people on their design team.
Yeah.
Plus a shout out to the soundtrack. My God, I have that in the background while I work. That's how good it is.
See, and also another point, our resident non-gamer has progressed further in that game than a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say like any other game that I've ever played.
How many of your friends are playing that game?
Like 2, 3.
Whoa. Like one sale got these 2 guys in. You got what, 3 other guys in?
Yeah, I was hard selling that
Damn,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, I talk about this game all the time.
Yeah. They
great.
didn't pay us anything. We're just doing this video out of pure
know,
respect.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's Into the Breach.
That's in the breach.
You wanna
I've
talk
also
about
played another indie game
games, right?
last
Yeah.
year, but also quite irrelevant for last year. It was Hollow Knight for the Switch, and there were some hiccups, like technically. For those of you who don't know, that's a Metroidvania game. It's set in a very dark and grim world of bugs. And you're this little knight called the Hollow Knight. And the lore of that game is really deep. I'm not going to go get like deep into that. You guys can read up on YouTube. But basically, you're just this little bug running through a whole kingdom of bugs, and then it's like this kingdom that's deteriorated. The king's dead, and that might be a spoiler. I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. And basically you're just running around trying to achieve something. I'm not going to say what it is.
But it's a platformer.
It's a platformer. It's a Metroidvania. It's like a 2D Metroidvania. It's like any other Metroidvanias. It has all the mechanics. It doesn't have anything that's like super innovative, but it does all those things really well. So it's a really well executed game. And the style is really nice. It's really polished.
I've seen it a lot on like the best of Switch games of 2018, like a lot.
Yeah,
it was 2018, right?
Yeah. I spent like 77 hours on that game.
Wow.
For an indie game, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, I spent 80 hours on Mario Odyssey. But that game was like what, $15? So it's like super good value. So if you have a Switch or PC, or I think it's on the PS4 too, like just pick that up. I think the game wasn't that optimized for the Switch. So in some rooms, in some areas where there's a lot of stuff going on, there could be some frame rate drops. So if you don't necessarily need to carry it out with you and play it on the go, then I would definitely recommend the PS4 or PC version. But it's definitely a game that you need a controller to play.
Cool.
So yeah.
I think for me, given that besides Into the Breach, which I technically only started playing this year, the only sort of indie game that I played last year was Parkitect. So Parkitect is kind of like the spiritual successor to like the Roller Coaster Tycoon series, but it's more in the vein of the RCT 1 and 2, kind of, more of the isometric kind of look. And it kind of plays with a similar kind of vibe. A lot of people are comparing Parkitect with Planet Coaster as like the spiritual successor, like who is really the sort of continuation of the RCT series. I feel that Parkitect is more faithful to the kind of strategy elements, because you've played Planet Coaster too.
Yeah, I would say it's nothing like Roller Coaster.
Yeah, it's more of a sandbox building kind of.
Yeah, because it's very complicated.
Yeah.
Like there's so much you can do with like the coasters.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's less theme park management.
Yeah. So for Parkitect, it's very much theme park management. With one additional thing that I think is really interesting and throws a lot of like complication into the game, which is like the employee kind of paths. So we never had this in RCT,
Right.
but for all of the shops and you know,
You had
vending
employee
machines.
paths in RCT.
not as much.
No,
I
you
don't
can
think
tell.
so.
You can tell your like
So-
mascots where to.
Oh yeah,
walk.
so that was like drawing out where they were
Yeah, yeah,
walking.
yeah.
But these are actually paths you build that are different nature,
Specifically for-
different nature to the actual like sort of patron paths.
I see.
And patrons want you to build employee paths because they don't necessarily. The story of the game is like they don't want to see what goes on behind the scenes. They don't want employees to be wheeling supplies, taking up like the pathways that the patrons walk on.
Oh, I see.
So then there's a whole thing where you have to like build decorations to like kind of shield that, and that has to go
Well, that's quite
behind,
realistic, yeah.
which is kind of interesting. So you have to like, but beyond like the front facing stuff, you also have the back end kind of resource management side, and you have to build that into the game like while you're planning out the entire skeleton, which is very interesting.
Interesting.
So that was actually released last year. So that is not that irrelevant for the first time ever from me.
Still quite irrelevant. I mean, people talk about like Apex Legends that just came out,
Fair enough,
but we don't do that here.
but you, if you're into like part management sims and all that stuff, I would recommend Parkitect. Go check it out. I think it's worth just kind of like if you're a fan even of the RCT series. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
So, to talk a bit about this game I've played. It's called Mutant Road to Eden. So it's another turn-based combat game, similar to XCOM, where you control a squad and then you control.
Is it on the PC?
It's on the PC.
Only?
I don't know if it's on any other platform. But the story is they're in a post-apocalyptic world where almost all the humans have died, and then basically you're controlling a squad of mutants. As you level up, you gain different mutations, and then basically you can like grow wings and you can fly further. You can grow stronger legs, you can jump to higher ledges, so you can have a bigger field of view.
Mutations.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool in that sense. And then there's also a big stealth element. So the game is really hard. So in between like combats, you need to basically control your squad and then stealth around people, pick people off individually before you can actually go into the big combat. So like the combat, the story, and then like the artwork and everything.
That sounds interesting.
It's a really good game.
It's pretty strategic then.
Yeah.
Sounds cool. Nice.
Awesome. I'm
It's the first time I can chime in. It was great.
Yeah.
So that was episode 3 of Mainly Irrelevant. We'll be back, I guess, with more irrelevant stuff whenever we feel irrelevant.
Yeah.
All right.
I think next month we're gonna do a whole
Switch
thing,
thing.
multiplayer day. The
Yeah.
three of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna kick their asses.
Which is where I'm most irrelevant.
We're finally getting
in Smash.
yeah,
in.
we're gonna do
No,
Smash. We're gonna do
Mario Kart?
and we're gonna do Towerfall.
Yeah, I've been playing Smash so much. I've unlocked almost every single character now with the same character.
Oh, wow.
So I've been practicing this
Almost every single character now.
using the same character.
Almost. So you haven't unlocked all
I
characters
think,
yet.
I think I need 3 more.
Don't talk to me. Like, come on. Yeah,
Who got owned in Mario Kart last time?
I did. Well, I own you first. You won like one game.
No,
Then
you
again,
didn't.
Pixel didn't happen.
Exactly. So we're going to film Jeremy being irrelevant in Mario Kart next time.
He's gonna be irrelevant.
This is the guy who's like, oh, it's competitive in this game and all that stuff. So watch out for that.
Yeah, I beat you first. Shut up.
Pixar didn't happen. Video didn't happen.
You can improve it.
See you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.